Oh, lights are still off. Forgot. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Hey Siri, turn on lights. Oh. Alexa, turn on lights. Jeez, I'm tired. That just lets you know I'm really tired. Wow. It's been a long day. uh, got home from work maybe about an hour or two ago, honestly. About 2 hours ago, honestly. But yeah, not really here to talk about the workday, obviously. We're here to talk about the weather. And, well, it's been the talk of the town. It's no secret at this point. We kind of already have a rough idea of what's coming. Big time winter event is set to occur across the southeast here. And as you can see, based on Radar Omega here, a lot, and I mean a lot, of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, winter storm watches in effect already, and I would actually still expect some more to come here. There's still a potential for even a nor'easter, even though I would consider the chances to be rather low at this point still. There's a lot of uncertainty with the track of the storm, especially as we get past the Gulf of Mexico here in particular. And that was really the key component as to why I wasn't really inclined to pull the trigger immediately, saying that this is going to be the big snowstorm across the southeast here. As anyone who's been a viewer on here for a while knows, I'm not about hyping stuff up. I don't care if the clickbait would give me more views. It's just not what I'm about. So interesting thing to note here. If we actually look over towards Texas right now, this is the actual event starting, by the way. You can see it just past the U.S.-Mexico border here. Our low pressure's firing off, giving us some snow here in the Mexican mountains here. And now, as we go over towards southwestern and south central Texas, we're starting to get a wintry mix. As we go through the evening, this is going to end up transitioning into a bit of a slushy mix of snow, sleet, and occasional freezing rain. Hence why the winter weather advisories are in effect. Now, as things continue to progress, the low is actually going to, and I'm going to try to see if I can actually pull this up here. Hopefully this is up to date, otherwise I can just try and hand draw exactly where that low pressure is. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do since I'm not on satellite, but I'm going to give it a try. If this doesn't work first. Oops, wrong thing. But I'm going to go ahead and try to pull up the surface analysis. Okay, I don't even remember where it is. Wow, it's been that long. Oh, wait, here. No? What? Oh, this is embarrassing. Wait a minute. There it is. Okay. Low's still back here. Oh, that's surprising. But in any case, though, I actually think the low's probably moved. Yeah, I think this is actually out of date, just as I thought it was. Daggone it. Alright, well, I guess we're doing this by hand then. Yeah, that was 4 o'clock. Next update shouldn't be till like 9. They only do an update every 5 hours on Radar Omega, which it's kind of bad whenever you have situations like these. But in any case, though, we'll make it work. Okay, so let's zoom in our area of interest, which is right here. This is where our low pressure is. Excuse the terrible L that I have just drawn. But in any case, though, you can see this is our low pressure. Off to the north of that, we have our moisture, some of that cold air that's interacting, especially towards the higher elevations. We're seeing that change over to snow. As this moves forward, this is going to strengthen. And as this strengthens, an extra low pressure is going to pop up over here towards the Gulf. These two low pressures are going to interact. This one actually ends up becoming the dominant low. And as this does so, it's going to pull in all the cold air that's already over this area. Or it's going to really just, it's going to pull moisture over this cold air, actually. That's and what's going to end up happening is this is going to move inland. As this does, That cold air and that moisture interaction is going to cause some winter weather and some pretty significant snowfall totals as a result of it. We'll get into what the models are showing, or at least the latest. Been seeing a lot of projections of up to 3 to 5 inches for a lot of regions across the deep south here. Pretty much from Little Rock all the way over towards Atlanta, over towards Charlotte. Looks like we could even get 3 to 5 inches. Birmingham as well. As we get towards areas like Nashville and Jonesboro, we could be dealing with 4, 6, maybe even as much as 8 inches of snow possibly with this too. So the totals are pretty juicy here for our southern winter storm here. It's not uncommon that we get these, but it's been a while since I've seen one that looks as impressive as this. It kind of gives me a little bit of that callback to the 2014 event, but confidence, well, actually I would say confidence was pretty high with that one as well. But with this one, it's kind of the opposite. We already had warm air in place, and then the cold air was rushing in, and we were just trying to see if the moisture and the cold air would interact. In this case, cold air is already in place. Towards my area in Atlanta right now, it's 28 degrees currently. Well below freezing. The road surfaces are going to be below freezing by the time we get started with this winter event over towards these regions. Same can be said pretty much anywhere across the map where we're expecting winter weather. So, that being said, really now, all we have to do is go ahead and take a look at the models here, because truthfully, like we said before, just about everything's already in place, really. Moisture's there. We have our storm system that's going to be rolling in. Low pressure is going to be the catalyst to bring in the moisture we need. So by that point, there's really only one thing left to look at here. And then also kind of go over the timing and the details to go along with it. So what I'm going to do in the meantime here is get that set up on the screen. So, not going to be looking at anything super extravagant, at least not in the short term, obviously. I mean, we pretty much know what's coming. We're just going to be more or less comparing the models at this point. So, if anyone has any questions, though, feel free to ask too. Don't bite at all. Eastern Massachusetts. That one's still a little bit of a question, I'm not going to lie. But we're going to go ahead and find out right now just what we're dealing with there. If I can get this to work. Okay, there we go. Okay. Alright. Map's working. Okay, so here is the latest model. Here's the latest European model run that we have here available to us. 18Z uploaded probably about an hour ago, I would say. But here's our here's one of 2 low pressures here. As time goes on, we're going to see a low pop up here in the Gulf. As we mentioned before, it's going to be our southern snow setup. Pretty prominent signal across the southeast. For Massachusetts, this is where things get interesting, because I've been seeing a few different outcomes with this. It does look like you're going to have an opportunity for snow. Where this low ends up tracking after this point is going to determine how much. At one point, I was seeing the GFS actually riding up the coast here. So, if that scenario occurs, you're going to get heavier snow, hence greater totals. But Euro's kind of always been against that. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit of a toss-up. Nothing's really been in good agreement as far as the Northeast is concerned in the long range. Since we're a little closer here, though, I'm pretty sure we'll get our answers right now. You still could also get some backside snow from this as well. If I'll go ahead and switch this over to the GFS, though, I wonder if this new run is either on board with the Euro, or if it's still doing its own thing. So pretty much same thing. Southeast at this point looks like a shoe-in. Oh yeah, Indy, you're in good shape. Yeah, if you're wanting snow, you're gonna get plenty more. At times you could even get heavy snow. Now, GFS is starting to kind of trend along with the euro now. So I'm thinking that you're not going to get as much. But if I were to go back to, let me go back on the last couple of runs here to go along with this. Like I said, about a couple of days ago, it was really putting the Northeast in line for a nor'easter type event. Okay, so 12Z's actually been pretty consistent with this last run as well. Let's go back a little further. Because I haven't gotten to see much of anything today from because I was at work. Man, it was a super long day. A lot longer than I was expecting. Some unforeseen conditions there. I work on pool tables, anyone that's curious. Okay, so it seems like through today, we've kind of trended away from that nor'easter type of threat. If that low does deepen a little bit more, if that pressure drops more, by the time it gets towards this region, it could still be an interesting situation for Northeast, including Massachusetts. But as of right now, your totals are probably going to end up dropping off just a little bit. Let me look at one more model just to make sure here, because I like to do model comparisons. I don't like to just jump on one model and one model alone here. I try to be as accurate as I can. Okay, so this is the icon. Icon's probably the most aggressive here, but I do need to switch that over to current time first, because that's 060. We're well past that point. That's 12 hours out of date. Okay, so the icon's completely against it. Yeah, I would say at this point that I would expect some snow. Impacts wouldn't be super significant. An inch of snow wouldn't be out of the question. There's still some uncertainty with this. However, I would say it doesn't seem as of right now like it's going to be too bad. Now keep in mind, these are winter systems that we are talking about, and things change so quick with them. What you see one day could almost be completely irrelevant the next day, so just kind of keep an eye on things. I'm sure if something significant changes, then, you know, somebody will make mention of it, either around the same time as me or before me. Depends on if I'm free from work. Maybe I'll be the first one to it. Who knows? Thank you, Ann. It's honestly pretty surreal that we're at this point now. Officially, there's actually 2 requirements with that, by the way. You get 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours. I got 1,000 subs last year, but the watch hours didn't. But the watch hours, I didn't hit that requirement until actually a couple days ago. So it's pretty surreal to see the ads, or to hear about people saying something about the ads. It's kind of nice. Obviously, some of you might not be fans of that, which truthfully, it's not really in my control to begin with. So. Yeah, sorry. That being said, though, let's go back and I guess we'll go ahead and look at the totals here. No problem, Daniel. Just make sure you stay safe. I mean, you should be fine over there. You're not living in the Southeast like us, so you guys seem like you handle winter weather a little bit better than we do. A little bit better prepared. Hopefully we don't have another 2014 snowpocalypse here. Theoretically, I don't think we should, but, you know, a lot can happen. Muskogee, Oklahoma. Conditions shouldn't be too bad over towards Muskogee. Oh, you're YouTube Premium. You're living the good life then. You don't have any ads to be concerned with. Unless I were to feature them in videos. Then you can't escape. I'm just messing with you. But I know the premium life. It is a nice one to a point. Until it's time to renew the bill. Anyway. Anyway. Muskogee, you're under a winter weather advisory. You're going to see some wintry precipitation, though. I wouldn't be too concerned, though, Matt. Or Matthew. Whatever you prefer me to call you. But I would expect some wintry weather. Not a whole lot. I would say maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow seems likely at this point. Let me change this over to blend of models here. We'll do a model comparison to go along with it. So let's move this to, I think we'll go with Tuesday. All right. Okay, so to explain what we're looking at here, of course, this is the snowfall map. This is the model ratio. But we're doing a model comparison here. So on the screen are different models that you would look at to compare for your snowfall totals. Keep in mind, these show different outcomes also. This will vary depending on the track of the storm system, how much moisture it's pulling in, how strong it is. So note, as I go through these, you're going to notice some changes here and there. It's not exactly what's going to happen, but these are all possibilities. Most aggressive I've seen so far has undoubtedly been the Euro, by the way. But towards your area, about 1 to 2 inches has been the mean, I would say. Now, unless you're on a Team Canadian here, where you're wanting about 3 to 5 inches possibly, even though it's like a small little pocket here, I would still say 1 to 3 is probably what you would be looking for, if that even occurs. It all depends on how that storm system interacts with that cold air and how far north that moisture gets. Hang on, let me go ahead and pull a small screen of Radar Omega here, so that way you can see exactly what I'm looking at. It's a little hard to see because the window's small. Trying to get them to cancel work. Hey, man, I'll try and put in a good word for you. I'm going to try to put in a good word for you. There's a chance you could end up under a nice little snow squall, and you could probably get on the higher end of that spectrum of that 1 to 3. There also is that chance of some frozen in other forms of frozen precipitation, like frozen rain, like freezing rain. I was about to call it frozen rain. What's wrong with me? But as you can see, actually on Radar Omega right now, towards the bottom left corner of the screen, this is over towards Lubbock, and you can actually see it starting to creep its way into the city, and eventually that's going to be heading your way. So you might have a shot. You might have a real shot here. I mean, it's been cold across pretty much most of the lower 48, so those road surfaces are going to be a little bit more apt to have an accumulation, especially if it's freezing rain. So I think you have a good shot. I'd say you have a very good shot, actually. But there's Radar Omega on the small screen, so you guys can see what's going on with the weather in real time. But yeah, for your area, 1 to 3 inches is about the average for pretty much every model on here. There's a couple of them that are a little bit more aggressive, but yeah, I would expect 1 to 3 inches of snow. We'll talk about ice in a little bit too, because that's going to be a big talking point as well. But let's move further to the east here. Totals have really picked up around Dallas again, especially with the Euro. Euro's still calling for 6 inches. This was the first model that was really hot on this system to begin with, was actually the Euro. GFS kind of came on board later. But I'm noticing in recent time, because we kind of downtrended for a little bit, especially north towards Dallas, we're starting to get a bit of a bullseye that pops up here. I think there's also a chance that there might be a little confluence band that tries to pop up here. Confluence band will usually form around the backside of the low pressure system, where the air is coldest and the moisture kind of meets up with it a little bit. You could get some really significant snow, and it seems like that's actually what would be the case here. But I'm still not certain on what exactly the total might be. But in any case, though, if you're just to the north of Dallas in particular, you could easily expect 4 to 6 inches there. Go a little bit further up towards the north, totals kind of drop off just a little bit. This corridor right here between Little Rock, Dallas, maybe even Memphis, we could see some pretty heavy snow. Possibly some areas might get lucky and get close to a foot even, depending on the model here. But widespread, I would say 3 to 5, maybe close to even 6 inches plus seem like the average here. Let's get to Kentucky. We'll go to also Indiana and parts of Tennessee as well. Average between all the models here has been about 4 to 6 for the most part. Even parts of northern Mississippi gets a good 3, maybe even all the way up to 6 as well. Up towards Indy, and this is where you said that you were, Emmanuel. I think you're leaning right at about 2 to 4. You're going to be like right on that little line here. But yeah, you're going to get a little something out of this too. Might even get caught in between a lake effect band or two, because with all this cold air pouring in and those north winds, those lake surface temperatures are definitely going to be warmer than the air temperature. With us already dealing with the low pressure coming in and also clipper systems still sneaking in behind this, you're still going to have opportunities for snow. Either way. Get over towards Ohio, it's pretty much the same deal here. Snow kind of drops off. I can't lie, I kind of want to experience what lake effect is like, but I'm also kind of scared. I've heard some horror stories about that too, man. I've heard some serious horror stories with that. Southern Illinois looks like a point of interest again. Looks like this time though, it seems like it's mostly going to be snow. 63,304. I'm not familiar exactly with that zip code, but I can try and look it up. I'll be discreet about it, so that way no one knows your personal area. Okay. All right, so for your state, is that to the north, south, east, or west exactly? Because it's okay, so it's being a little bit weird right now. Wait a minute, I kind of know where it is. I think I actually know where this is. Hold on. Ah, okay, that's where it is. Give me 1 second, Theodore. Once I get this figured out in my head exactly where you are in the state, I got you. Yep. Okay, I got it now. Raleigh? Yeah, Raleigh's definitely in the mix. Yeah, I would expect snow and sleet in Raleigh for sure. Perhaps not quite as much as areas further off to the west, but the mean has been about 1 to 3 inches over there as of right now. Not all of the models are on board, so there is a little bit of it's a little bit open-ended, I guess you could say. But in any case, though, Some of the more aggressive models might give you a little bit more than an inch. The most aggressive one I've seen is the Canadian. Canadian's not the most reliable here. If you're looking for better snow chances from a reliable model, I would say the Euro. Even then, you're kind of leaning right in between that 1 to 3 inches mark. I would really say closer to 1 to 2. But also haven't taken a look at the ice just yet, which we're going to go over in just a moment here. Now, St. Charles, the average is really closer to 1 to 3. I wouldn't expect too much in the way of ice. The rain-snow line seems like it's going to be a little bit closer towards the southern end of this snow line here. And it's only going to be small little pockets here and there. So I think this time you're going to be a little bit better off than the last system. Even I think you were further up to the north anyway, so I don't think you got the worst of the ice. I think it was much further to the south over towards like Springfield where you had it really bad. All right. All right. If anyone else has questions before we move on to ice, I'm here. Give you a little moment here. Also, Theodore, if you are still here, I do think you guys are still under a winter weather advisory. Yeah, you guys are just barely in it, but you are in it. I'm going to try to go live probably Friday. Hopefully I don't lose power here because I'm not going to lie, Georgia power is not the best. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and switch over to freezing rain accumulation here. And this is where things kind of get a little tricky right now. So the thing that makes this really complicated is the fact that as this low pressure moves through, as it strengthens, it's going to bring a little bit of warm air into the middle levels of the atmosphere. It may also warm the surface temperatures just a little bit too, but it's really going to complicate things at the mid levels. And the thing is, with the road surfaces already being below freezing by the time this event occurs here, regardless of what precipitation that you would end up getting, at some point I would anticipate some kind of freezing of the roadways. Not the most significant that we've seen. In fact, the last system was far more significant. I'm very grateful that this one is not one of those, but we could still easily see up to about 1/10 of an inch of ice, especially widespread over towards Texas. And that's going to be a big problem because, as we mentioned before, Texas does not see storm systems like this often. They do happen, but it's not a yearly thing. So there is some concern there, especially for these areas that are getting towards the 2/10 of an inch mark. Because any of my northerners, you know what happens when you start getting to that 1/4 inch ice mark and beyond. That's when things start to get real nasty. So seeing that over here towards central Texas is a little bit alarming, especially considering the fact that we're looking at one of the more conservative models here. One thing that I don't like about some of the global models, especially in the short to mid range here, is the fact that they are super aggressive. I really just usually will just go with this. But over here towards Texas, that's where we're seeing the greatest probability of ice accumulation and the greatest ice accumulation forecast so far. So we get towards southern parts of Arkansas here. We could still potentially get up to 1/10 of an inch ice. Ice threat kind of drops off a little bit further to the east here until we get towards eastern Birmingham, starting to get into north central Georgia here, Atlanta as well, where we could see potentially a couple areas, maybe even up towards the mountains, we could get above that 1/10 of an inch mark. That would make roadways very treacherous, especially for those of us who do not know how to drive on them. And in this region in particular here, there's a lot of mountains. I was actually up here earlier today at work. So, that being said, travel, I would honestly be trying to discourage it. If you really know what you're doing, if you really just have to take your chance, so be it. But I would really advise against it, if it's at all possible here. We go out towards the Carolinas here. You may get a little bit of ice here and there as of right now. But I wouldn't expect anything major out of that at this moment in time here. But as it stands right now, ice threat outside of Texas, maybe the Ozark states, not looking all that significant, which is a great thing. It's just a beautiful thing, if anything. Especially with the last system we had, where some places were up to about 3/10, maybe even 4/10 of an inch over here towards the Ohio Valley over here. And also power outages were insane. Also towards Kentucky, there were a bunch of accidents. We were actually live when that event was ongoing. We were covering it. We're going to go ahead and we're definitely going to be able to cover this one because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be off work Friday. Especially since I live near hills. Or I live all around hills. Just to leave, I have to go through a huge hill. But in any case, though, is there any other parameters you guys want me to look at before I go? Or do you want to look at the look further down the line here, just try to get an idea of what our temperatures could be like, if there's anything that might be behind this? It does seem like the weather pattern does slow down just a little bit as we go further along. So there is that. Down the line. All right. Okay. So we'll start out with precip, and then we'll actually go ahead and take a look at the temperature. I guess that'll be it for the stream then after that. So, here's our system. Here's our snow shield. Then after that, little clipper system to follow. So bring more snow to you, Emmanuel. Then after that, you have these sneaky little systems off the Gulf here. Gonna keep the Gulf Coast states kind of busy. We do start to get a little bit of a ridge that occurs here as we get towards the middle of the month. It's gonna keep things kind of calm up until the 17th into the 18th. But we're mostly gonna expect rain out of that. Not really too concerned with anything after that point. This is typically what we see in the southeast, but with the warming trend that we have occurring over towards the northeast, you're getting a little taste of what we deal with. Usually it's a classic case of the moisture outrunning the cold. Maybe you could get just a little trace of snow, a little burst of snow on the backside of this. After that point, cold air moves back in. Clipper systems always have to be watched. But obviously at this range, 336 hours out, I wouldn't get too excited for this. Major league cold, though, if this does indeed verify. So, put in perspective for you, this first blue line here, the 540 line, that is the 32-degree line. Anything behind that line is obviously below freezing. Once we start getting into the 400s here, that is some extreme cold we're talking about. We could potentially be dealing with below zero temperatures there if this is verifying. I'm going to go ahead and look at the surface temps after we finish looking at this map. But if this ends up being the case, that's a crazy model run. Of course, as I mentioned before, we're also looking at the very end of the model run, and usually that's where I see some of the craziest stuff. Will we see this by the next run is the real question. So, here's GFS again. I'm going to go ahead and look at the temp map. We already know it's kind of chilly over the lower 48. It's going to remain that way through a good chunk of the month. Not much of a surprise to be had there. But, as we mentioned before, get that tiny little warming trend once we get past the 16th into the 17th. So here's that warming trend. Start to get into the 40s, 50s for a decent chunk of the U.S. Even start to see some 60s pop back into the picture briefly. Here's that next big cold push. Yep, there it is. Below zero, here and there. 22nd, 23rd. Holy cow. Yeah, right, this was right about where that 498 line that I saw was. But yep, -1, -7, right about there. Ooh, even Meyer gets down to 17. Yikes. Yeah, I'm hoping that this doesn't verify, because that's no fun to be in. Yes, indeed, Rachel. The snowman, that would be another snowman scenario indeed. Of course, like I said before, though, 300 hours out, you can easily see this change. So, I'm not going to put a whole lot of merit into it, but based off that look alone, it actually kind of says it all. I don't want to deal with I don't want to deal with temperatures in the teens. I'd rather deal with it now than when I go back to landscaping. But in any case, though, still brutally cold. I did say in a video earlier this year that January seemed like it had all the makings of a wild card month. And it definitely looked like that prediction is kind of verifying in this case. The thing about it is, the way that we're seeing these cold snaps pop up and the intensity that we're seeing them on models is kind of speaking volumes to that. Hi all from Indiana. Wow, how did I misread that? Yeah, you guys got slammed with that last winter storm, and then you could get another. Oh, you must be further to the south. That's where 3 to 5 is. Yep. Yeah, you guys got your fair share of snow. There might be a couple more opportunities ahead. Even after this one. Hate to say it. But yeah, it looks like January is gonna be the month this year, or for this season, where we really felt winter. Because a lot of people, I remember towards early December, they were saying, I don't know if winter's coming. I was like, well, let's not do that just yet. Let's not say that. I guess anyone that you might have heard saying that, you can now blame them. Don't blame the weatherman. Blame him. Blame them, because they jinxed it for all of us, right? They jinxed it for all of us. Because I'm gonna quote Sean Casey from the Storm Chasers TV show. Whenever there was lightning striking around his vehicle, he was saying, maybe if we're quiet, they won't hear us. But they chose to run their mouths, and now we're all paying for it. Help. Anyways, are there any other questions? So I'm probably gonna head off soon and go to bed so I can get ready for work tomorrow, and then I think we'll probably start out going live in the evening and then do the same thing again on Friday. Maybe I might even do a live report from my area if I can. Because we're expecting snow as well. We're expecting 3 to 5 inches as well. Also, if you're new to the channel, definitely would urge you to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you haven't hit that like button already, definitely do so. But if anyone doesn't have any other questions, I'm going to call it a night here and get ready for work. You all stay safe. Hopefully you guys have prepared well for this. If it's quiet in the grocery store and the shelves are still stocked, don't clean them out, especially if you don't need to. But get the stuff that you need. There's no need to panic. This is nothing we haven't dealt with before. It'd be a nice change of pace for a lot of us in the South, though. I will say that. But hopefully, everyone does what they're supposed to do on this end, so that way the city isn't shut down for a week either. So, that being said, everybody have a good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And some tired metalhead weatherman. I'm signing out.